back in those days, the Stone Age, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but you had to earn a reputation. You had to really earn a reputation. These days, a lot of these young jacks, they can create a reputation. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference in earning and creating. You know what I'm saying? It's like I can sit here and draw a picture. You know what I'm saying? But like, can you be the person that the picture's based off of?
Pardon me, I'm just repping my team. MVP, been ahead of my league. iLLViLLE, put that on everything. iLLViLLE, put that on everything. Competition waiting at the site. They ain't think I see the day, but I made it through the night.
Ill Villains Unite. You are now tuned into iLLViLLE Radio. I am your host, the G-I-double-B-Y, Gibby Stites, your friendly neighborhood Gibbzilla, whatever you want to call me. Tonight, we have a very special guest joining us, this man right here. When I think of somebody who just destroys the beat, I think of this man right here. When I think of somebody who pioneers a movement, you know what I mean? I think of a guy like this man right here. I'm talking about none other than a close friend of mine, Gamblez, the lucky bastard.
Yo,
What's going on, dog?
Gib?
I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling. I'm very happy to have you on the show. First and foremost, God Division represent all day.
Know it.
You know what I mean? So we're gonna get on into this. First off, I want to give a special shout out to the movement that is God Division. Can you tell everybody what is God Division? Shout out to Akua, by the way.
Yeah, shout out to Akua. That's the general right there. Salute the general. You know what I'm saying? God Division is like we just a crew of raw MCs, you know what I'm saying? And mostly based out of Colorado, but I mean, we got Jersey representatives, we got Rhode Island, we got Florida on the map, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all over the place right now. We got Belgium on lock, you know what I'm saying? Like, God Division is a conglomerate right now, you know what I'm saying? Mostly MCs and shit and producers and DJs and people just bringing all the talents to the table and coming together trying to make this shit pop. You know what I'm saying? We all support each other. We're brothers. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't a label. You know what I'm saying? It's a movement.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I wanted to start this how I did by saying, you know, I think of somebody pioneering the movement. I think of yourself and I think of Akua the God and everything that y'all have built with God Division. You know what I mean?
Yup.
So many dope artists, producers. You got Akua himself who does all this video shit as well. It's more than just music. It's a media. It's like a media frenzy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's a takeover.
Yeah, Akua mostly got the videos on lock, you know what I'm saying? And that was just something he was really passionate about. And that's really where it started with me personally too, because, you know, I just doing the thing, sending my shit into Sunday Night Grind and shit like that. And Akua had saw my shit and I had no idea that I had moved out to Colorado. And he hit me up on a DM and was just like, yo, I saw you had submitted this one track. What do you think about doing a video for it? And I had already seen some of his videos, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, damn, this dude's nasty with it. And he, you know, where you based out of and shit like that. And I'm like, yo, I just moved out to CO. And he's like, oh man, like, I just moved out to CO. I'm out in CO, you know what I mean? So him and I linked up with the quickness and like immediately became brothers. Like it was like one of them things that like, you know, almost no words needed to be said. We kind of just eye to eye locked and shit like that. And it was like, yo, we were on the same tip about that business and shit like that. And you know what I'm saying? Like that's my ride or die right there. That's my brother for sure. You know what I'm saying? And from there, it was like he already kind of had his shit. He had like God Division, the logo. You know what I'm saying? Like everything, he was branded already. He just didn't have that click around him that was ready to go ham on everything. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where I kind of stepped in and brought a lot of people that I knew that would be down with it and understand the philosophy behind it and everything like that. And I kind of brought some homies with me and shit like that. And Akua was on board, like, let's do this shit. You know what I'm saying? And there's been a couple people like, you know, maybe didn't work out so well. Doesn't mean they ain't fam. You know what I'm saying? But you know, right now we definitely got a strong ass fucking clique. You know what I mean? We got a ton of music coming. And I think that like this last, you know, year or so, maybe like closer to 2 years, we've been dropping a lot of shit, but we've been working on a lot of shit and trying to make, you know, dot all the T's and cross all the T's and dot the I's and shit like that and make sure it clicks. You know what I mean? So, yo, 2025, 2026, y'all motherfuckers just better be ready for something huge, you know what I'm saying? Because we coming at you full force. For
Yeah,
sure.
man. He ain't bullshitting either. Listen,
No.
I've been mixing and mastering some things behind the scene, some things behind the scenes. You know what I mean? And let me just say, I like what you said there because I firmly believe, and what I know about you, you're a facilitator. Like Gams is the guy who's gonna connect these things, and you reach out to a lot of people. You keep communication flowing. You're good at communication, which a lot of motherfuckers, myself included, at times, who are locked in doing multiple different aspects of the art, rapping, making beats, video, and shit. We could get so locked into our creative zone at times that we're not reaching out and making those connections and facilitating like that. So when I think of Gams, first thing I think of dope ass MC, you know, like you one of them dudes. So if somebody was like, yo, somebody got to kill this beat right now or you gonna die. I'm
On it.
I
I'm
got
on it.
like, yeah. You're like my top 5 of who I'm calling on that list.
Appreciate
You know
that.
what I mean? I'm like,
No, I
yeah.
appreciate that. That's why they call me the 1,000-pound flow, bro.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just every time I get on the mic and shit, it's like I'm punching somebody in the chest, ripping their heart out. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I've always approached the mic like that. You know what I'm saying? Like beast mode. You know what I mean? Like that's just how I am. You know what I mean? I'm 6'2", 240. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna come on there on some soft shit. I'm gonna come in there and show you who I am and what I'm about. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
like as
man.
far as the communication and shit like that is concerned, like that part of the game and that aspect of the game is pretty much like my favorite part is like collabing with people, meeting and working with new people and shit like that. And then through that, like obviously you meet some people that you ain't gonna be so fond of, but then you end up with a situation like you and I have, where you meet somebody who's like a kindred spirit in this game and shit like that, and you stay friends and you stay working together and shit like that, and that's what I'm all about. You know what I'm saying? Just from the very beginning, you know what I mean? Like '07 type of shit, reaching out to people like Prime Prolific. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Just because I fucked with him and liked his shit and would just reach out to him, yo, let's collab on a track. You know what I mean? And to this day, that's still my man. It's like we still make music together. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, I've always just been about that, like just linking up with people because I know, you know, you need supporters. You need friends in this game. You know what I'm saying? You need people that are A-likes and are gonna see things the same way as you. And you know, the more the merrier. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always been like a kind of like a gang mentality like that. Like we all in this together. We all out for the same goals. We all trying to do the same shit. You know what I'm saying? Like work together is gonna be easier than working against each other. You know what I'm saying? So I've always just been that dude, and I like collabing with people that you would never expect me to collab with. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, I just always been about that shit. So I appreciate you saying that because that's Akua kind of pointed that out to me that I'm like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like not just a middleman, but like a move maker. You know what I'm saying? I move the needle and shit like that just because like I'm constantly up with people and constantly trying to make shit happen. But sometimes I can bite you in the ass too now. Like, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like I'm working on 12 different projects right now. You know what I'm saying? And that's because I love just getting in there and just doing work with people and shit like that. So, you know, but that's what I mean though. Like I'm telling you, in the next 2 years, like God Division, we're gonna be dropping a lot of fucking dope music for people, man. A lot of fucking dope music and working with some really big heavy hitters in the game out there. So, you know, we
Yeah,
definitely
man.
making a splash right now.
Yeah, man, we're gonna talk about all of that too. I got it in the notes, matter of fact, because you're absolutely right. There's so much new music coming, so much new music that has dropped recently already this year
Yo.
in 2024. Now, before we get to all that though, I want to go back to the past. That's what we do. We do some back to the future shit. We go back to the past, talk about the origins of the Gambles, you know what I mean? And then we're gonna come back to the present day and talk about all of the new things.
Let's do it.
You're in Colorado right now. Now, you're originally from Florida? Is that correct?
No, I was
Oh shit.
born and raised in Massachusetts, just outside of Worcester, in Worcester County, and I lived there till I was like 15. I was just getting into so much shit. Like I was a little goon. Like I had Thug tattooed on my arm when I was 12 years old. You know what
Shit.
I'm saying? Like just Thug. You know what I'm saying? Like I was a little goon. I was a little goon, like 10, 11 years old, tearing up the streets, stealing shit, lighting fires, beating people up, like just stupid shit like that. I was just a little goon, and I was just getting into so much shit. So my mom's, rest in peace, she moved me out to Florida. She was like, "You got to get the fuck out of here." I was already like,
Shit.
you know, I was just on probation constantly, you know what I'm saying? Just wearing my mom out like bad. And, you know, so she moved me down to Florida and, you know, that's actually where everything kind of started for me musically and shit like that was once I got down to Florida and I lived there for like 25 years, you know what I'm saying? So like a big significant chunk of my life was spent in South Florida, you know what I'm saying? And, yeah, like immediately I moved down there and probably within like a month, I met Hectic, the Latin assassin. That's my best friend. That's my brother. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
man.
I'm talking about a
Shout out to
friendship that's
Hector.
going on. Yeah, shout out Heck. That man is a monster right now too. Like he is where like I'm on the creativity and doing hella albums and pushing mad music. He's been working his ass off on his live performances, his live shows. He's out there with Kenny Mercer doing all these big events. Like I think he just opened up for fucking Conway.
Yeah, he's
And
everywhere.
Graf was out there. Yeah, he's out
He's
there.
everywhere, bro. I
Yep.
feel like every week I see him sharing a flyer and he's in a different state. Like, that's the thing too that I notice about his grind.
And he's still in South Florida right now. But yeah, that's my brother. We've been through, like I said, you're talking about almost 30 years of friendship. Like him and I have been through everything. Like we've done so much dirt together. You know what I'm saying? We fucked hoes together. Like we've done everything that friends can. We fought each other. You know what I'm saying? Like fist fighting each other over stupid shit. Like, you know what I mean? And don't talk for a while and then, you know, meet each other again. And it's like nothing ever happened. You know what I mean? Like just,
Yeah.
we've been through the storms. You know what I'm saying? That's my brother right there. No matter what happens, thick and thin, ups and downs, all that shit. That's my brother. I talk to Heck almost every single day. But anyway, you know, that's where I met him. We were like 15 years old. And we discovered that, you know, we were both freestylers, just fucking around. We'd be in the back of the van headed to a party. They'd be playing like Killer Army. And we're fucking freestyling over Killer Army's lyrics on the beat and shit like that. And we get to the party and then me and Heck would jump in the ciphers. And this is back in the days, like you couldn't go to a house party and there wasn't a cipher. 2 or 3 of them broke out in different areas of the house and shit like that. And you know what I mean? Like we connected on that. And then we realized too that we both had a real passion for wrestling. You know what I'm saying? Like we were both big WWF, you know what I'm saying, old school wrestling fans and shit like that. Just grew up with it. Like our pops or our family was into it. You know what I mean? And we connected on that. You know what I mean? So and we lived right around the way from each other. So yeah, so me and Heck, we've been down since getting down. Like we were just jits running around tearing up the neighborhood and shit like that. And now here we are like grown men, kids, shit like that. It's like we still connecting. And you know, I moved out here to Colorado like 3 years ago. And really it was because like I had the same job for like 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And like was just grinding, holding it down. I just got sick of the day-to-day same shit. And my daughter was approaching, like she's about to graduate high school. And actually we were going to go on a Alaskan cruise for vacation. And then COVID hit and we couldn't go on this fucking cruise. So she decided she was going to go up and go see her mom up in Virginia. And I was on I had a very good friend of mine that lived out here in Colorado where I'm at right now. And I asked her if I could come up to visit. I wanted to see the mountains and shit. And again, like I already kind of had it in my head, I was going to dip Florida, but I was going to move up back northeast and shit back up to New England. And I came out here and I had a buddy with me and shit like that. And bro, she brought us out. We're seeing moose, fucking porcupines, elk and big like ram and shit like that running around and fucking cougars and all kind of not to mention just this shit is like a Bob Ross painting, bro. Like where I'm at. Like, I didn't even know that South Park was based out of where I'm at until, like, months after I moved here. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, damn, South Park is 2 blocks away from where I'm at, like, where they based the cartoon at.
I remember that shit was crazy. It was crazy because I visited the South Park village last year, and I remember you hit me up. You were like, dog, you're in my city. Why ain't you tell me? I didn't know you lived in South Park. I had no fucking idea this was even a real thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, you probably walked by my hood, didn't even know it. You know what I mean? Like I was, that's where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? So, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like the elevation and shit like that. That took a second to get used to. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we're over 10,000 feet in elevation where I'm at. So it's like we always say, like Denver is like the mile high city. We're the 2 mile high city. You know what I mean? Like I'm up here, and that took a second to get adjusted to. But growing up in Massachusetts, and I lived in upstate New York for like a year when I was a kid. you know, the cold, the snow, the grind like that, the winter grind and shit. You know, it had been a while, but I grew up in that shit. So that wasn't hard for me to get readjusted to. And actually, like I'm like a fucking polar bear anyway. I like the cold. I like the winter time and shit like that. So that's kind of like what my personality is anyway. Like I'm a cold motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me. But yeah, this shit is lovely out here, bro. I ain't never. This is probably gonna be my home pretty much for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I love it out here. The people are fucking hard around the edges. You know what I'm saying? Like I love this shit out here, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing too, because I was in Pueblo, Colorado, which was like not as high up in the mountains, and also like more city. Like
yeah,
I feel like where you're at, that shit is really up in the mountains. Like
yeah.
I haven't
Secluded.
been. Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't been to your actual crib, but I imagine you have minimal neighbors, if any.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like you know, in the song we did, which you know, video's gonna drop here pretty soon.
Yeah.
When I say like I ain't seen a Walmart in a couple years, like that's actual factual. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
shit
I
that
remember.
people are used to that they take for granted like that. Like I haven't had fast food in over 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Which is a blessing. But they don't have that shit around here. Like you got to drive an hour out if you want a fucking Big Mac. You know what I'm saying? Like how bad do you want it, bro? You know, so, and we have a couple little neighborhood stores. Everything that you need is right here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But, yo, believe me, like Amazon is on fucking deck at my P.O. box, bro, because, you know, we just don't have shit like that out here. And I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good with that. And it is a little bit of a shell shock now because it'll be like, you know, weeks or months will go by before I really get out of the neighborhood. I'm just in my grind, in my head, in my zone, and I'll go down to Denver or Pueblo to go see you where you were at and shit. And I'm like, I'll see a couple little, there'll be like a, you know, like a Walgreens and then a grocery store and a Taco Bell. And I'm like, in shell shock, like shit, like the smells in the air and shit like that. So it kind of makes it better. Like I said, like, you know, I lived in that city grind for a long time and shit. And just being out here like I am right now, it's good for the mentality. And I think that even if you don't decide that this is where you want to stay, I think everybody should kind of experience this at some point, or at least visit a place like this to kind of see how other people in the world live. You know what I'm saying? Like what do you do when you don't have a Walmart fucking across the street? You know what I'm saying? Like this shit is crazy out here. This shit is crazy.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in New Jersey majority of my life, but there was like a 1.5 year period where I lived in Tennessee. My pops was a wild dude. He was selling drugs and all this shit, and he moved us down south, you know, like on some in hiding shit. So he literally, I was 10 years old at the time, and I went from living in, all my shit is called iLLViLLE, all that. I'm from a town called Millville, New Jersey, which a lot of people would call it iLLViLLE. It was really like a more disrespectful thing, but I took it like, that shit sounds cool. I'm gonna flip it and make it a dope name. But I grew up in Millville, New Jersey up until that point, and it was, you know, very much in the city and shit. You know what I mean? Not the city like New York, but it was the city. My dad moved us to Tennessee, and specifically with the purpose of like we're in hiding. So he got us this fucking little trailer, bro, in the middle of nowhere. I'm talking, we had like one neighbor within like a 5-mile radius, and he lived across the street. We never spoke to him or talked to him because each of our driveways was like a mile long. But so I had felt that shell shock as a kid. Like I moved out there, but there was something about it that I got used to. And I think to this day, the time that I spent in Tennessee with no neighbors, I would go to school, come back home. I had some stepbrothers and shit, stepsister, and they were all older. They're like 16, 17 at that time. So they had homies and friends, and they would get off of school, go somebody pick them up and shit. I was like I was 10, 11 years old. I get done school, I come home and fucking, it's just nothing but woods and nature. You know, I got a couple video games or whatever, but I think that's really where I already kind of wanted to rap at that time, but I think that's where I really started forming all the shit in my head because I had all that alone time. And I feel like that experience to this day, even though it only lasted like a year and a half, I ended up moving back to New Jersey with my mom and got back to the city life and shit. But now, even now, I live in South New Jersey. Right. And the area I live in a spot called like Hopewell. And it's Like when people think of New Jersey, they always think of North Jersey. Everybody thinks of it's like New York and shit. South Jersey, bro, it's rural. Like where I'm at, I'm talking like, man, we got fucking fields and peach trees and shit and fucking
The
farmers
Garden
and
State, bro. The
yeah,
Garden State.
exactly. And I'm in the garden, half of the garden state down here. You know what I mean? But so with that said, like even at a young age, I got to witness and experience like living in different areas and like, oh shit, there's a lot of people just grow up where they grow up and they don't even realize until an older age that there are options out there. So, you know, I went out there, lived in Colorado for almost 2 years. Now I wasn't where you were at. Like I said, I was in Pueblo. So beautiful though. Like you said, it's like living in a fucking Bob Ross painting. I was just there a few months ago visiting, seeing my girl and shit. And bro, we're driving and I'm taking pictures like I didn't live there for a year and a half.
Yeah, see, like, and where I'm at too, and I'm sure you heard the term, especially while you were living out here, of like the 14ers and shit. And it's like, I'm up in like they're 14,000-foot peaks and shit. And I'm up in where there's like, I think it's like 5 or 6 of them all dotted right in a row. You know what I'm saying? So when I walk out my front door, it's like, I'm looking at like the front of the Coors Light bottle. You know what I'm saying? Like those crazy fucking bluish gray mountains with the snow peaks, the snow caps on them and shit like that. Like that's what I look at when I walk out my front door. I'm like, this is fucking beautiful. And like most people that I know out here, like they don't take that shit for granted either. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, at my job, at my 9-to-5 type of shit, I'm in the restaurant business. So there's like a lot of high school kids and shit like that. And they want to get the fuck out of here. And I don't blame them. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like growing up Amish. You know what I'm saying? And they take like that sabbatical where they go to New York or they go to fucking South Beach and party their asses off. But you know what ends up happening? 9 times out of 10, they come back home because they realize that there's something special about where they grew up and where they're actually living at that ain't like the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I kind of feel about this place. And I always encourage the kids when they're at work and they're talking about wanting to get the fuck out of here when they graduate and shit like that. Hey, go experience life, go live life. But trust me, at some point in time, whether it's a year from now, 10 years from now, you're going to realize how special it was where you grew up and you're going to end up coming back. You know what I'm saying? Like, this place is beautiful, man. It's beautiful. I think, like, I mean, Fair Play is kind of like the city, but Alma, which is right up the street, like, the population is like 200. You know what I'm saying? It's like 200 people there. So, like, you go to, like, the general store there, they know your name. I walk in, as soon as I walk in, he's already got my brand of cigarettes on the counter. You know what I'm saying? He's asking me how my day was and shit like that. It's just like that out here. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's just, I just love this shit. You know what I mean? And it kind of gives me a little bit more of a good headspace. And when I come back home and I want to work on music, I don't have 1,000 different things on my mind. You know what I'm saying? I'm kind of just, it's more simple. Down, you know what I mean? And I'm enjoying the fuck out of it for sure. You know what I'm saying? I ain't no spring chicken anymore. You know what I mean? Like, and this is what it's got to be for me. Like, I like this shit. It's bad because like my daughter, she don't like coming. Well, she likes coming out here. She don't want to live out here because the elevation can be really hard on people, and some people just don't adjust to that shit. It's just facts. And it could be a harsh living, you know what I'm saying? But for me, I love this shit. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't going nowhere. And this is definitely influencing the new era of my music as well. You know what I'm saying? And kind of being in isolation like this a little bit. You know what I mean? And being able to focus more on like my writing craft and my song making abilities and shit like that, as opposed to everyday grind, going out to do shows, meeting people, traveling somewhere to go to the studio and shit like that. Like now I got everything centered right here. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm sitting in my hub right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love this shit.
Right. And you're able to like really lock in. And I think that's something that a lot of people who want to create, or even people who do create, a lot of artists and shit, they might like want to skip that part or not realize it exists, where like there are these different eras, and it's going to happen if you're a real creator and you've been doing it your whole life, like a man like yourself, right? You're going to have these different eras where you find yourself going into like this nerd mode where you're locked in, you're not hanging out, you're not, you know, after work, you're fucking locked in at your desk, whether it's writing or facilitating. For me, it'd be, you know, making beats and shit as well. But you almost go into these times where isolation helps the creation. It really
Yep.
does. Because
Yep.
obviously there are ways to isolate negatively, but when you're a creator, I think you need that isolation at times so you can really lock in. And because, for example, like I said, where I live now, I live in a spot called Hopewell. I'm about 30 minutes from Millville. And I still go to iLLViLLE to go to the studio. Shout out to my dude DJ Immaculate. You know what I mean? I still go there for some good food. Shout out to Jim's Lunch and shit. But here's the thing, right? Me living where I live at now, where I'm on a back road and all that shit. When I was living in the heart of iLLViLLE, like in my early 20s and shit, you come outside to smoke, come outside to smoke a blunt or whatever. You got your homie walking by. You got the dude inviting you to the party that same night. You got your boy needs a ride. Or even you're inside trying to lock in, but you live in the city, somebody knocking on the fucking door, this, that, the third. So that's the thing that I find. It was like it when I lived in Colorado as well, and it's like where I live at now. I like these areas of seclusion where I can wake up, lock in, because I do the music shit like 9 to 5. Like I do it like
Yeah.
this is how I pay my bills and shit. I don't
Yeah.
actually do it from the hours of 9 to 5. I think it's a lot more hours in every day that it gets done.
Yeah. You
But
put in your work.
yeah, so I need to be able to focus though. That was a thing where like, like I said, you wake up and you go outside to smoke that early morning blunt. I should go outside, smoke a half a blunt, come back in and get to work. But if you're living in the city, you're living around all these people, there's all these distractions. So yeah, there's something about living in these areas,
Well, not only that too, but like it was hard to mentally to make that decision to move from somewhere I had been for the majority of my life, and like all my friends and family and shit I'm leaving behind. You know what I'm saying? And coming somewhere brand new and really, really, really being on my own. But what it did was, like before I left, I bought an M audio setup and got the preamp and got the mic, and you know what I'm saying? And like I realized I wasn't gonna be able to go to homie's house or to the studio down in Miami or something like that to record. I was gonna have to do that shit on my own. So I started learning how to record myself. And I ain't no pro by any means, you know what I'm saying? But like that's all done independently now. You know what I'm saying? As well, because I make music every fucking day. And usually you're the one getting your hands on it as soon as it's made, regardless. But, I'm making music in here every day on my own. Also, like, I don't have the option of like, just sending my shit out to anybody and shit like that. I don't have like a crew around me of people that's like, this dude's making beats. This dude's going to do the artwork. This dude's going to mix and master. And they're just right there. Like, now it's like, I got to fucking really concentrate and be able to try to learn how to do that shit on my own and be a lot more independent. So it's kind of forced that on me, which has been good. You know what I'm saying? And like learning how to do artwork and fuck with the Photoshop and the Adobe and all that kind of shit. And you know what I'm saying? Again, like learning little tricks of how to record myself better and, things like that. So it's been a blessing in disguise as well. Like that kind of aspect of it and just being really independent, putting my music out. Cause I know a lot of people that still, to this day, and no offense or nothing like that, but they really wouldn't even know how to press record on a DAW. You know what I'm saying? They like wouldn't even know what the fuck they're doing. And that's all right. Like I said, if you got a squad around you of people that can do that for you, good for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I had for a long time. But now it's like I've learned how to do that on my own and shit like that and humbled myself too to understand that like now I gotta ask for help sometimes. You know what I'm saying? I gotta send my shit out and make sure it's done right. But yeah, like that aspect of it too. It's like, the isolation and shit like that, but also that being forced on you to learn how to do shit on your own. You know what I'm saying? And just get this shit done right. You know what I mean? So that's
absolutely.
been a blessing. I like that shit.
All right, so now we talked about the space where you're at right now. Let's take it back a little bit. You're in your teenage years, 15, 16. You move to Florida. You link up with Hectic the Latin Assassin. Y'all are freestyling at parties and all that shit, right? At what point in time, what age do you think y'all began seriously pursuing it, like recording tracks, putting out music?
I'd say, man, it was probably like a couple years in. You know what I'm saying? Like we were the kid, like we had the old school little tape decks at home and shit. And we would record each other and shit, like
Nice.
press and pause and record and shit like that, and have a little bullshit mic we got at fucking Walmart or something like that. And we would just fuck around and show it to our friends and shit like that. And I think it was a lot of that, like people like, you guys are really dope. You guys should really pursue this. And, and obviously back then, the grind was a lot different. We didn't have like social media like that. You know what I'm saying? Social media back then was like word of mouth. You know what I'm saying? And people talking about you. And that's what started happening. We started getting a little buzz to where now we ain't showing up to the party and jumping in a cypher. Now we're showing up to the party and we are the fucking cypher. You know what I'm saying? Like people are on some fucking like, yo, heckin' Gams just showed up. Everybody like there would be people that would rap and shit that wouldn't rap when we were there because they were, I don't know, embarrassed or a little intimidated and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So we started getting a little bit of confidence because of shit like that. And then that's when it was like, all right, let's book some studio sessions. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's start meeting people that make beats instead of just using an Alcoholics instrumental or something like that. You know what I mean? And I think that was probably about like 16, 17. You know what I mean? Heck, unfortunately, like both of us were always troublemakers. You know what I'm saying? We were just dumb punk ass kids. Unfortunately, was always the one that was getting caught. You know what I'm saying? Like, Heck was in and out of juvie all the time back in them days. Like, he probably spent of those like 8 years or so when you're a juvenile and you're getting to know your surroundings and shit like that and doing things. He spent the majority of that time in lockup. So I ended up linking up with somebody. It was his cousin. I don't want to say his name because there's some, you know, crazy fucking history there and shit like that. But I ended up linking up with his cousin, and him and I more kind of started getting a little bit more serious about putting a project together, putting songs together and shit like that. And that was probably like 18. You know what I mean? But as soon as Heck got out, you know, it was always me and him right back at it. You know what I mean? But eventually what ended up happening is through that kind of scenario and being like those dudes that everybody kind of looked at like they're for real. They're not just freestyling for fun. They're actually doing it. We're doing shows. We're opening up for bigger acts, things like that. We started meeting other people around the way that were on our level, you know what I'm saying, that were coming up and shit. And we formed a whole clique called the Script Keepers.
Shit, that's a dope name. That's a dope name.
And there was like 7 or 8 of us. And there was like one dude was signed to Lost Children of Babylon. Another dude, yeah, and the other dudes, like a couple dudes had their own label and and they had the studio and shit like that. And we all just started making music together. And then we started, now here's Facebook, MySpace, that era was coming in. And then we started meeting people like Prime Prolific. You know what I'm saying? Like Sick Nature was giving us beats in like 06, 07.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Before, like before Snow Goons or anything like that, Sick Nature found us on MySpace and was giving us beats. We were working with Lord Lust from Bloodline and people like that. Like we were fucking with people like that hard and you know, just being on the come up like that. You know what I'm saying? And we were in that whole era, Psych Ward, like that whole camp, you know what I'm saying? And you know, so like we were getting there. And I think just it's hard when you have a big group of people. Like we were very, very dope together, but we were also very toxic together. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, different personalities and egos, different problems going on. You know, we'd all, you know, drinking and smoking and shit like that. You know what I mean? And you know, things just started happening and shit. And we kind of broke up and dissipated. But a couple of us, including me and Heck, have continued that grind and continued making music and continued trying to get on, you know what I'm saying? And as the years went by, it's just like I said, like you kind of learn to adapt with the times of what's happening with music and how music is being heard and seen and shit like that. And that was hard, you know what I'm saying? Like I took a minute off of making music. I probably almost like the better part of 10 years. I just dropped out because I was a young father. And I think to me, it was more important to be there for my kid. And I realized that we were making moves to the point where we were being invited to go on like tours in Europe to open up for iLLViLLE and La Coca Nostra and shit like that. Like the answer would be no. And that was hard because it's like, I had to be there for my kid. You know what I'm saying? So once she got of a certain age, she was actually the one. She was like, Dad, why don't you make music anymore? You know what I mean? She was like 15. Like, why don't you make music anymore? And like, she was the one who really like made it register to me. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like this shit has always been in my body and my soul. So I started kind of reintroducing myself and getting back out there again. Shout out to Dr. G. That's known Dr. G, and he's a very well-known, very respected producer from the UK. He's worked with fucking everybody. Everybody from like Noid and Conway and just everybody, MOP, already the rugged man. Like this dude has worked with everybody. Man, that's my man's from back in the day. He'd always give us beats and shit like that. Always fuck with us. Anyway, he had never let go of like staying in contact with me just to check on me and see how I'm doing. And one day he had this group called Seven Spheres where he was making the beats and his homie Ghost One was producing or rapping. And he hollered at me and he was like, yo, man, like, I ain't heard you in a minute. You want to feature on a track with me? And I was like, yeah, send me the beat. And he did. And I had to actually, like, you know, travel and spend money to get in the studio and shit like that. But it really, like, reignited the fire. You know what I'm saying? And, like, it wasn't even like a process or nothing like that. It was like that day happened. And the next day I was had a fucking pen and pad in my hand and I'm listening to beats and I just started furiously like writing and getting into it and then hollering at an old buddy like, yo, you still got your studio set up? And I started working on fucking making it like an album, like a project, like a solo project and shit. You know what I'm saying? And
What was the title of that project? Did that project come out?
not Mind of a Madman. What the fuck was it? Hellfire and Brimstone.
Fire and Brimstone.
What's the name of the album? And actually, I had my homie TMB, DJ TMB, did a lot of cuts on it, and he actually kind of hosted it and did some blends in between the songs and shit like that. And a lot of people heard it, and were reaching out to me. Where the fuck you been? Oh shit, Gamblez is back. Shit like that, and it really got me inspired and lit me up. And it was just takeoff time from there. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I had actually, you know what helped a lot? Big shout out to Grind Mode Cypher. Lingo,
Hey,
A-OK,
Primo.
Strip B, exactly. Them the dudes right there. And for right now, like, there is a lot of people that are hip to the game, but a lot of people don't know. Grind Mode is a glue right now that's holding a lot of this underground independent music together. They fuck with a lot of good people. They are very good people. They really, truly support underground independent hip hop.
Absolutely.
I don't even remember what it was. I think it was like a Behind the Grind that I saw with my man Mo Ruckus. And I was like, yo, this is dope. And that led me through the rabbit hole kind of thing. And I discovered Sunday Night Grind. And I started sending it in my music. And they were like, they had never heard of me. You know what I'm saying? I've been out the game for a minute. And they were like, who the fuck is this dude? Like, yo, he's on point. He's dope. And I was sending in old music from like 07, 08.
Shit.
And they were like, yo, this shit is crack right here. And then obviously I got an invite to do a cypher. And my first cypher was actually for the Goon Mode album.
Oh
Up
shit,
in
really?
Jersey. Yep. That was my first cypher. And I was on
Yeah.
Yep.
I was there. I was there.
Yep. I forget. And I didn't know nobody. I was out there with my man Seven Soprano. Seven
Shit.
Soprano. Yep.
Yeah.
Seven's from he's from like an hour south of where I was living in Florida. And I knew about him. I heard about him around the way and shit like that. And then when I'd actually saw him on a Grind Mode Cypher, and I was like, oh, this dude's locked in with that. So me and him went up there together with his pops. His pops is dope as fuck. I think his pops is like his publicist or something like that. But anyway, went up there with him. He was the only person in the room I knew. And I remember seeing you. I think Details the Prophet was out there. There was a Mickey Bourbon. You know what I mean? Like there was a gang of people I had only heard and seen on Sunday Night Grind, but I never actually met or linked up with or anything like that. And I was still like I said, kind of timid. You know what I'm saying? Because I hadn't been in that aspect of the game in a long time, like being out at a live event, performing on stage. What happened too was I was standing in the crowd before my cypher came on, and Diabolic was standing in front of me. And like I said, I'm a big dude. Diabolic's like 6'4", 6'5". You know what I'm saying? And probably close to 300 pounds, like a big dude. And he was in front of me and he like turned around. I was like, yo, Bollock, what up, man? And he heard my voice and he was like, yo, he's like, you're Gamblez, right? He's like, you were on my cypher. And I was like, yo. And I was immediately like plugged in because he recognized me because of my voice. You know what I'm saying? And doing that event was mad fun. And like immediately after that, the windfall started happening. Like now people that were at the event are hitting me up. Now Grind Mode's hitting me up to do another show. Now fucking Diabolic, I've done a track with Diabolic, basically, shared the stage with him. So like certain things got set in motion right away, just with that one show. And yo, you are one of like 10 people probably that were at that show, performed, all that shit that I didn't know and didn't even interact with just out of timidness and not knowing what was going on yet, that now I'm very good friends with and people's with. You know what I mean?
That's how grind
So
mode works. That's how it works, man.
and that's what I'm saying. They're a glue, bro. They're a glue
Yeah.
that holds this shit together. They're a medium and shit for people, and they're a very dope platform for people. Shout out Grind Mode and like
Shout out.
any
Oh, yeah.
independent artists that are out there that are young and up and coming and don't know how to get their music out there to the masses and shit. Link up with Grind Mode Cypher. Do
Yeah,
yourself
man.
a favor.
Everybody, all the ill villains, they already know grind mode is a huge part of my come up. This episode of iLLViLLE Radio is sponsored by Mad Max's Meds. What is this right here that I'm holding? Mad Max's Meds THC Lean. Blue raspberry flavor, my personal favorite. I pour up a little bit of this with a little bit of Sprite and it get me feeling all right all night. That's right. Once again, this episode is sponsored by Mad Max's Meds. You can follow them on Instagram at mad_maxes_meds. Now back to the episode. Let me go back to what you were saying there. So you're rapping with Hectic, right? Y'all are doing your thing, 07. Then you become a young father and you take about, you said like a damn near a decade off to be a father.
Yeah.
Now that's what I wanted to come back to and just say, first and foremost, highly respect that as such a highly respectable thing. I got a homie named Dr. Giggles, who he had the same scenario. You know, he's in like the horrorcore rap scene and he was putting out a lot of music. He had a kid. He took the time off to be a dad. And now he's back in and his son is like a hype man for him when he performs his shit. So I just want to say I got immense respect for that, bro. And I think that's a very important part of your story. And I think that's a really a dope part of your story that should be emphasized. And people should know that about you. You know what I mean? Like, not only this hip hop has been your life, but you were able to put your own passion aside to do what was right as a father. And that's just absolutely amazing. So then, you know, now we're back. Now you're back. You're getting back to putting out music and shit. You moved to Colorado around the time of the pandemic. You link up with A Coup with the God. Now you're in God Division.
Yep.
And then that brings us to right where we were at, where you link up with Grind Mode. So you discover Grind Mode through Sunday Night Grind. And then you did this show. You did the fucking the Goon Mode event you were just talking about. And I was there. That was let's talk about Goon Mode.
That shit was lit.
Bro, we had DJ Illegal was in the building. Like, nah, man, that night was fucking so. Let's give the Grind Mode flowers real quick. I mean, you gave the Grind Mode flowers, but I want to take my time to listen, right? So I first found Grind Mode in 2019. I was 23 years old at the time, and I was just getting into doing shows. I had been putting out music for like 10 years, like all, you know, online, physical mixtapes too, but hadn't really done many shows yet. So I met the homie Frankie V and Team Rocket Set. Shout out to Lagoon, Frankie V. Yep. Shout out Mickey Bourbon, that wild motherfucker right there. So I met them doing a show in New Jersey, in Trenton and shit. We was like in the hood doing this show. It was opening for Isham, and fucking I see the homie Frankie's wearing this Grind Mode shirt. I'm like, what the fuck is, why? I feel like I should know what this is. Like, if I don't know what this is, I should. So I asked him, like, yo, what's that? And he's telling me about it's a movement cypher. I went home and I went down the rabbit hole at that point where I typed in Grind Mode Cypher Frankie V. And I watched like a cypher he was in from 2x2 Fest is what it was. I still remember. Then the second cypher I clicked on, it became my favorite cypher, maybe still to this day. It was a Third Eye Open Chopper cypher.
Yeah.
Lingo, AOK, J Para, homie named Scars, Extra Overdose, and Vendetta. Like to this day.
The monster of all monsters, bro. Vendetta's one of my
God.
favorite MCs ever, bro.
Yes,
Seriously.
bro. Yes. Can we give that man his flowers? Vendetta, he's so humble. He's so humble. And I don't even understand how you could be that talented and so humble at the same time. Because he's sick, bro. He said he can.
Yeah, I know he is. And AO too. Shout out AO too, man. AO's up there with me too. AO's one of my favorite MCs.
Yeah. AOK he's an alien, dog. He's a literal alien. AOK, I got a funny ass story with AOK, right? We was in the Carolinas, South Carolina, doing the cypher. Maybe it was North Carolina. They had a thing called Ash Fest. It was Ash Jam is what it was. And it was
I've
like a
heard of that.
cannabis festival and shit. So we're out there, right? And we're doing Grind Mode Cypher. That's like one of the big things going on at this event. And I'm walking, right? And there's a monk, bro. I'm talking like a monk with like the robe and everything. And he's got a pile of books and he's just standing there like in the middle of like a walkway outside. And I walk past him and he got my attention. He's like, excuse me, you here for Grind Mode Cypher? I turned, I was like, yeah, I'm here for Grind Mode Cypher. What the fuck does Monk know about Grind Mode Cypher? Bro, let me tell you how he hooked us in. He was hooking rappers in with this line. He said, I have these books, lot of wisdom. Tupac Shakur read this book. Now he's got my attention. I know what he's doing. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, bro, how much do the books cost? You know, because I know what he's getting at. I'm like, how much do the books cost? He's like, they cost nothing. If you're willing to take in the knowledge and read them, I give you these books. I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. So I take them, I read. So I was hype about it. You know what I mean? I take these books. I start walking, right? And I bump into AOK and he's holding the same stack of books. And I was like, you here for Grind Mode Cypher? You know, Tupac read this book, right? But say all that to say, this is what kind of MC AOK is. You know what AOK says to me, bro? And he wasn't even joking. He was being dead serious. He was like, man, I'm about to write these books and write some crazy shit. Like, I'm about to read these books and like, I was like, yo, this motherfucker, his mind works differently, bro. You know what I mean? Like, he's always thinking about. So yeah, AOK, super intricate. Lingo, of course, you know, gotta give all the props to Lingo, the fucking general,
businessman,
the visionary, the producer, the engineer. When I got into Grind Mode, bro, I don't know if this is still the case. I think it's not the case no more. But when I first got into it, Lingo was not only engineering all the ciphers, mixing, mastering them, he was also editing. He was editing the videos, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fucking insane. They had a cypher dropping every week. He was doing a lot of the beats too. He's on a lot of the ciphers. He was doing the videos. So I don't know how Lingo does all that he does. He's a fucking mastermind.
We went to school for all that shit too. You know what I'm saying? And like, and he's got roots in this game, like heavy, solid roots in this game. Like he's fucked with a lot of people. I believe he like worked on a radio show at one point. You know, like he's been in this game locked in and doing it big for a long time. People got to give him his props as well. Like, you know, he's a grinder, big time. And he's locked in with a lot of dope MCs and has worked with everybody. And he's another one, just a cool ass dude. You know what I'm saying? And he knows what he's talking about. So like, you know, send your music in the Sunday Night Grind and listen to that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like when he gives you critiques, he ain't trying to shit on you. He ain't trying to tell you, he ain't trying to discourage you. He's trying to do the opposite. You know what I'm saying? And I love that about him. You know what I'm saying? Like he there's no favoritism or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna listen to your music and give you a good, unbiased opinion of it and give you little critiques that you need to listen to because trust me, it'll make your shit sound better. And yeah, so shout out Lingo. Dope ass fucking dude, man.
Yeah, man. Shout out Lingo and just all the opportunity that he has provided to so many up and coming artists such as myself. You know, there was a time when I was making beats for a long time only for myself. I wasn't even like telling people I produce and you can grab beats off me. I wasn't even selling them or nothing. And one of the first big things that I ever produced was a Grind Mode Cypher because Lingo believed in me enough to where I approached him. I was like, hey, man, I got these beats. I would love to, you know, produce. And now I think I produced 4 ciphers where we're at right now. And matter of fact, man, shout out to Prime Prolific. Prime Prolific was on the last joint that I produced. We was in Brooklyn. He fucking demolished it. He set it off. He had the first verse. Son, let me give props. Shout out to Invaders of the Universe.
Yes, sir.
And this is why Grind Mode Cypher is so important because it just connects all these dope motherfuckers. Like, I'm sure I would have found out about them anyway because they're out here in the circuit. They're doing amazing things. But I found them, and like I said, I produced this cypher. I also rapped on it. My boy Enzo Heat was on it. Shout out to Enzo Heat. But Prime Prolific had the first verse on this cypher, dog. And not only, like, yo, he got everyone hype. Have you seen him perform live? Have you had that?
Absolutely.
Son, dog, he shut shit down, bro. Like,
look at him too, bro. That's a big menacing looking motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude don't play games. And yeah, when he gets up on the stage, like he definitely, he don't even like, he's not like the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like he stands up there, mic in hand like this and just kind of rocks back and forth. And that's all he needs to do. That motherfucker commands a crowd. You know what I'm saying? And you know what too? I'm going to tell you something. His flow, his cadence, his wordplay, his voice has been the exact same for going on 20 years now that I've been making music with him. That dude has never changed, and it's dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that he hasn't never needed to change for nobody. And eventually he was going to end up in the position he is now, which is where he's getting his flowers out there. You know what I'm saying? Like locking in and linking up with ill people and the right people. That clique is dope. Misk is fucking fire.
Yeah.
Chrome is fucking fire. Billy Ballantyne, that whole camp, man. Like, shout out Invaders. They started forming around the same time that God Division did, the same tip. And yo, that's why, too. It all comes back to grind mode. You know what I'm saying? Like, they very much are the tree with the branches coming out. You know what I'm saying? Like, they are the base of that fucking tree. And you know, and they're just another example of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of dope cliques that are popping up out of that shit right now. You know what I'm saying? Oh, shout out Two-Faced Media. They're a whole nother one. You know what I'm saying? Two-Faced, my man Pestilence, Space Case, Mars One, that whole camp. You know what I'm saying? Like Lobotomized Geniuses. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of dope crews coming out there. And as a matter of fact, too, speaking on you making beats, that's how me and you linked up. Because I saw you posted something on Facebook one day. I was familiar with your music. I knew you were at that Cypher that I was at. We also did the Vegas Cypher, but you were unfortunately couldn't come. And I was really looking forward to meeting you at that Cypher. And I remember you couldn't come, and I was like, oh, shit. But I was fucking with your beats, and you posted something up on Facebook about, you know, whatever, you had your deal going at that time and shit, whatever it was. And I went right on your page and immediately copped like 2 or 3 beats or something like that. And that's how you and I linked up, because you were right away, like, started contacting me like, yo, what up? You know what I'm saying? You're dope. I'm glad you got my beats. And you know what I'm saying? You and I started chopping it up right away. So, and that came from grind mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Big part of what's going on right now in music.
Yep, because that was the first time I heard you. We was on that Cypher together on the Johnny Slash beat. We were supposed to, well, y'all did film it in Vegas. Yeah. I didn't make it. I got I think it was the neurovirus. To this day, I think it was the neurovirus. It was like the worst fucking sickness I've ever had. I was sick for like 2 damn weeks, but I still was able to like phone in my video part to be.
Yeah, you got it in the video.
In the joint, but that Cypher was crazy, bro. Donnie Menace was on that one. Shout out to Donnie Menace.
Yeah, he smashed that.
Yeah, dog fucking murderer. But so I remember that lineup, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy, bro? Gamblez, the lucky bastard. The verse was just sick, and it fit right in the pocket of that Johnny Slash beat that we was rapping on, that dark, grimy hip-hop shit, you know what I mean? And I think there's certain artists that when I hear them, I can tell already, I'm like, he was around like the mid 2000s, early, like you can just hear like a certain flow that's established. You know what I mean? That doesn't go away. Now your flow is entirely yours, your delivery, everything. And I feel like in this day and age, that's you know, in this day and age, I don't know, it ain't hating on nothing. Even me, like I came up in a different time where I have a lot of earlier influences from the 90s and 2000s and shit. But I feel like what it is there was this time period where I caught a little bit of it, but not all of it. There was a time period where rapping, I don't remember if I said this on the last episode or not, but I'm going to say it again because it's a good point. There's a time period where rapping was like, it was a physical act. Like how you said you and Hectic had to pull up to the parties to rap. It wasn't social media. You had to be places. Your name had to be physically spoken by other people. So it was all this physical act. And I feel like it made y'all artists like yourself, you chiseled your style. Your style is like chiseled and well refined because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Whether I like to say that the difference is, and it ain't everybody. It ain't everybody from that era, and ain't everybody from this era that fits in this pocket. But mostly it seems like back in those days, the Stone Age, whatever the fuck you want to call it, but you had to earn a reputation. You had to really earn a reputation. These days, a lot of these young jacks, they can create a reputation. You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference in earning and creating. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I can sit here and draw a picture. You know what I'm saying? But like, can you be the person that the picture's based off of? You know what I mean? Like, you got to earn that shit. You know, but it also made things a lot harder. You know what I'm saying? You know, look, like my beginnings, like came up of that age, like I was like 12, 13 when Wu-Tang started popping. 94, 93, 94, 95. Oz started popping. You know,
Golden age.
G-Rap is my favorite rapper of all time. You know what I'm saying? And like, you would hear somebody like an Eminem or a Jay-Z or somebody like that say the same thing, but I have to educate a lot of younger cats now. Like, wouldn't even know who the fuck G-Rap is in a lineup or be able to distinguish their voice on a track or nothing like that. And that's my
Right.
favorite MC of all time. I think like my shit is more, I was just in that perfect kind of environment in that group in that era. So like, you know, being a young Jack, G-Rap, Nas, Capone and Noriega, Mobb Deep, you know, that's my shit. That's what started influencing me and what I like to listen to and what I like to, you know, project. But then being, I don't know, 18, 19, now you're on some Jedi mind tricks, Army of the Pharaohs, Ill Bill, Necro, shit like that, Lost Children of Babylon. That era started really hitting underground independent music, and that's what I started getting into. And it really, like, I think it was almost like a matter of like, I fall asleep one night, I wake up the next morning, I'm completely different. Like the perspective had shifted once I started really getting into like Jedi mind tricks and shit like that. And I was like, man, these dudes is talking about something different, but they got the same kind of hard-hitting, go-getter flow. Like most of my favorite rappers are like Queensbridge rappers, you know what I'm saying? And it reminded me a lot of that, just gritty, dark, street. But you got somebody like Paz, who, especially in that era, was spitting a lot of very intellectual, like he was one of the first people from that era, the 2000s, early 2000s, that I started looking up what he was talking about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
and the last time I
him and
remember doing
Immortal
that was
Technique.
with Wu-Tang. You know what I mean? And like, I love that kind of shit. You know, I'm that way too. Like, even now when you don't have you're not going out to a Specs and buying a CD and opening it up and looking at it and looking at all the liner notes and shit like that. Like, you don't really do that anymore so much, but like you would look up people and like want to learn more about people and shit. And I was always like that. Like, if I like the music, I want to learn more. I want to hear more. I want to, you know what I'm saying, immerse myself in that shit. And that's how I was with Wu-Tang, hearing all that 5%, a talk that they were doing and shit, the slang that they were using. I was like, what the fuck? You know, everybody get the phone 9311. I'm like, what the fuck did he just say? And I'm kind of looking it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, the power you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm looking that shit up. I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? I started learning about 5% and shit like that. It was honestly, like, because of that, there was a minute, like, I didn't even eat pork or nothing like that because that's how heavily that shit had influenced me. Like, for a long time, I was like, man, that swine is evil, like, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Trying to educate my boys. Just, you know, just trying to grow up as a man and shit like that. But yeah, like, just the two different eras there. But I give you, like, I remember hearing the story about how, like, I had linked up with Paulie Grams. Shout out Paulie Grams, that's my fucking dude. Independently, each one of you told me that you guys had known each other since you were fucking young bucks.
Yeah.
Because you guys were both in that New England area, but you were both, what, 14, 15
Well,
years?
actually what it wasn't even the New England. I wasn't even leaving New Jersey yet. It was the internet. Me and Paulie Grams, that's how we were able to meet at when we were 14. It was the internet rap shit. We were so young when that shit started. You like the Funk Volume days and stuff like that. When everybody was started like doing when all these online ciphers started happening and shit. So that's the crazy things. Like me and Paulie Grams met online when we were like 14, 15. We did a track together and then we lost touch with each other. And then in the 2020s and shit, when I started doing grind mode, I started going to New England, and that's when we met again in person. I was like, yo, oh shit, yo, we did a show together in like 2021, I think. And that's when I was like, yo, you're the fucking dude who I did the song with when I was 15. So that's the cool thing about that rap shit is we were able to meet 2 times. Like we met when we were teenagers doing this shit, and then we met again in person when I was actually hitting the circuits and stuff.
Hey, shout out Paulie. Like I said, that's a fucking good dude right there. Me and him met through Grind Mode as well. And we actually ended up doing a whole project together, produced by Gloomy Sailor. Shout out Gloomy.
Shout out to Gloomy.
That's God Division fam all fucking day.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about
Yup.
Gloomy and the
Um,
album.
Yep. And then so I linked up with Paulie through Gloomy, and
Shit.
and he ended up flying out here. He was at that Vegas Cypher as well, and he ended up flying out here. My man's like, he don't travel. He gets like mad, like anxiety like that. He's like, yo, I don't want to fucking be on a plane, B. You see how big I am? I don't want to be sitting in those tiny ass seat and blah, 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 blah. And
He's right,
I'm
though.
like, yo,
He's
Paulie,
right.
get your fucking ass out here. Let's travel together. You know what I'm saying? And me and him and Akua drove from here and that was dope as fuck. We ended up really getting to know each other and vibing and shit like that. And Paulie, original member of God Division, shout out Paulie, like always family, always my fucking dude. I always got his back, anything he needs. That's my fucking dude right there. And I think he's known as a beast and shit, but he's very slept on. Like a lot of people don't give Paulie his props. Like that's that fucking dude, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he does a lot of that's a big menacing dude that's been through a lot of hard shit in his life, a lot of hard shit. And he doesn't make music like that. He makes music that will touch your soul, make you cry, look at your kids differently, that type of shit. Go tell your mom you love her before you go to bed type of shit. Like he's a real ill dude, man. I got mad respect for Paulie.
Yeah, man. So let's talk about the Gloomy Sailor album. Since we brought up the Gloomy Sailor, we got to. I didn't know
My
that
brother.
I didn't know you and Paulie linked up via Gloomy. So that's really cool to learn right there.
Yeah, Gloomy, ill ass dude, very humble, very, very, very talented, has his own unique sound. His beats are like orchestras, bro. So linked up with him, started fucking with him, got some beats from him, and then was gonna do a project, just me and him. And then I saw that Paulie Grams was putting out the Gloomy Grams EP. And I was like, damn, who the fuck is this kid? You know what I'm saying? And started listening to the songs he had. He actually reached out to me, and I jumped on a track for him on that album. I didn't know what the fuck to do with the Gloomy project at that point. The beats he was giving me, I was more focused on some different shit at the time, but I didn't want to let him get slept on. So I reached out to Paulie, and I was like, what do you think about doing a collab album with me over Gloomy Sailor beats? And he jumped right on it. You know what I'm saying? And so me and him dropped that album, I think like 2 years ago.
What was the
It's called
title?
Loose Lips Sink Ships.
Loose lips sink ship. Loose. That shit's hard to say. Loose lips sink ships.
Yeah, we always try to I always it's the Gloomy Sailor, so I try to fuck with that kind of a theme. Like when I'm collabing with him or I'm working with him and shit, I try to stick to that kind of nautical kind of theme, but keep it gangster. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Yeah.
shit is fire as fuck.
And as a matter of fact, that brings us up to present day, where
His album.
we just released, and we all played big parts in this project right here. Before I say the title though, we gotta, like you said, Gloomy. He's the orchestrator. This is his album. I'm talking about A Bridge Over Troubled Waters, the producer album from the Gloomy Sailor, featuring tons of dope MCs such as Gamblez, myself, Paulie Grams, Frankie V, Mars One, all kind of dope. Fucking Lingo himself, Akua the God. Yeah, bro, we could sit here for 20 minutes just listing the dope artists that are on this album.
Everybody, and I
Everybody,
appreciate all y'all.
seriously. And I had the honor of mixing this entire project, so I had my hands on all these vocals, all these beats, you know what I mean? And I just want to say that, first off, Gloomy did his motherfucking thing, bro.
Yes,
he
sir.
shines. He provided some extremely unique but hard-hitting production. Just like you said, a lot of the shit he does is like a fucking orchestra.
Yeah.
And then major props to every rapper who got down on this album. Shout out to y'all for not only recruiting me to mix and master the project, but I dropped a verse on that shit as well.
Yo.
You know what I mean? And
We appreciate you, bro.
yeah, man. Let's talk about that album. How did that start forming, and how did you become the connector for that project?
So again, he had a gang of beats from him. A lot of them were left over from, say, like me and Paulie's album that we ended up doing together. Some of them were just beats that he had given me, and I just was sitting on them. And some of them they had been worked on. Like I might have a verse on it, or Hectic might have dropped a verse on it as a feature, and they just weren't completed. And I just started thinking I always fucked with mixtapes and producer albums, Snow Goons albums. you know, things like that. Scar City Budapest and these producer albums. And like, I always thought that was like just a dope thing for like one producer to reach out to a bunch of different MCs from all over the place and get them together on a project. You know what I'm saying? And anyway, so I reached out to Gloomy, told him what my idea was, and he was all about it. And so, yeah, like I took the tracks that I had already, edited them, worked on them, decided which ones I wanted to actually jump on. And I tried to be very unselfish about it because I could have been on every single one of them tracks. Every one of the beats is dope. I definitely hand selected all the beats and then just started thinking to myself, like, who would sound dope on this? Who have I not heard on tracks together that would sound dope together? Things like that. And it turned out that a lot of these dudes were fam and like people that I had already collabed with. So it made it very easy. You know what I'm saying? And so it just started from there. And I just one at a time was sending tracks out to people. Can you jump on this? Do you want to drop on this? Do a hook for this? Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And yo, I'm gonna tell you something. For like a year, it took like a year. That shit was a pain in the ass at some points. You know what I'm saying? And trying to get people really to come together. But what was dope is that everybody had love for Gloomy. And like nobody charged a fucking dime. Everybody wanted to do it on the strength. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And that was really special to me. And it meant a lot to Gloomy.
And he's such a good
for
dude.
him,
He
too,
deserves it. He deserves
he
it.
definitely deserves it. You know, listen to the dude. And again, you know, going back to a situation and shit like that. Like, this is a dude who's been through a lot of fuckery and have been dicked around, people fucking him over, trying to bury him and destroy his character for no reason. Like, this is a good ass dude. He's a fucking talented producer. He's never said no to anybody. And, you know, I thought he did deserve it. I think that he deserves his flowers big time. Yeah, so I appreciated everybody coming through on that. And then, you know, you were the cornerstone to that shit. And you know, being excited as you were to work on it, I really appreciated that. It wasn't just a business transaction and then you sent it to me when it was finished. We were constantly in contact.
Yeah.
There was ups and downs through that whole process too.
Yeah,
Nothing
man.
so terrible, but just making sure everything was on point the way we needed it to be. You know, and again, it took a year to put that shit together. So things were kind of all over the place. And you really brought that together and made it, you know, a lot more simplified than I had thought it was going to be to actually get this going. You know what I'm saying?
I had a great time mixing and mastering it because I really locked in on it. And I think there was like a month, maybe 3 to 4 week period where that album was my life. Like, that was every day. Obviously, I'm working on my own shit on the side and other things, but that was like the primary focus that month. I got a like a note list in my phone where it's like the things I got to handle every day. You know what I mean? Like, send beats to this guy, upload this, schedule that, ship out this. But at the top of that list for a full 3-4 weeks in capital letters, Gloomy album. That's all that is said. And I enjoyed doing it because I love the fact that while you appreciated the fact that I didn't just take the money, send some quick mixes and whatever, I appreciate the fact that y'all let me take that time and you were cool with, like, you know, I was able to whip up the first mixes for the tracks, send them over, and then sit with them for a week or two, ride with them in the different vehicles, and continue to make these adjustments until the project really got finished, you know? And with that said, it put a special place in my heart for that project because I really worked on it for such a long time. So I appreciated y'all recruiting me and really bringing me into the fold, you know what I mean? Because when it comes to that project, clearly, like, Gloomy is the orchestrator, that's his album, but you were like the primary, you were the one making all the connections and, you know, so it's your album as well. So for y'all to bring me in at that, the last hour to do the mixing and mastering and make me feel like I'm a real big part of it too. I love that album. And it gave me a chance to flex a little bit. Like, yo, man, I did this project with all these different vocals on it, these dope ass beats from Gloomy Sailor, and I get to use that as a reference when I'm telling people.
And you crushed it. Yep.
Man, thank you. And
that's
again,
fire.
Everybody on the album did the motherfucking thing. Yo, shout out to Ill Temper.
Yeah.
I said I can't shout out everybody on the album, but that one caught me off guard.
That's my bro. That's my bro. Hell yeah.
Bro, caught me off guard because I didn't even realize y'all were tight like that. Like, me and Ill Temper are cool.
So during that whole, like, before I moved out to Colorado and I started, like I said, Dr. G had hit me up, put a fire under my ass type of shit. What happened was, once I started dropping music again, this dude, Julius Sleazer, reached out to me. He's from Canada. He's from Toronto, maybe? I don't know. Excuse me if I'm wrong too, but Julius Sleazer hit me up and he was trying to form, he was in Dead Rabbits. And I wasn't really familiar with him at the time. Like, I think I maybe had heard him on a couple of tracks. Fucking raw, dope MC. You know what I mean? But anyway, he hit me up and was like, he asked me if I was interested in being a part of a new clique that he had started called Death Camp. And I was like, at that point too, I'm just hungry. I'm like, yo, latching on to whatever I could. I'm like, hell yeah, like good looking for reaching out. And within that camp was Ill Temper, Donnie G, Skull Bludgeon, who was my man's from way back. I've known Scully B for a long time. But and Julius Sleazer, man, there was a gang of dope MCs in that clique, but Ill Temper was one of them. And I immediately latched on to his shit because he was way different than anything I'd ever heard. Like, completely different MC. And then once him and I started talking, I realized he's a funny ass dude. He's a real ass dude. He's not afraid to turn the spotlight onto himself to crack a joke. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just a real ass dude. I like that dude. You know what I'm saying? And me
He's
and him
a
have
hard
collabed
worker.
many times over the years now. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, man, that's a hard-working individual right
Yeah.
there. He's one of them cats who, on my timeline, like we've done a few tracks together now. We just dropped a track called "Fuck Less" that he did featuring me. He was on Syndication, my last album, on a track called April Showers. I was on one of his Even Heathens projects with King Gordy. So we've had like a back and forth to sending each other tracks. There's always been a mutual respect there.
Yep.
We've never
Me
specifically.
and Temper have done a couple of projects together now too. With they were all produced by Skinny Bones, the Godfather.
Shit,
And
was that the Cannibal Soup? Was that the?
No.
No.
That's my album.
Oh, okay.
It was called, one of them was called iLLViLLE.
Yep.
And it was it's me and Ill Temper and Versatilla. Shout out Versatilla too. That's another one that, like, one of my favorite MCs. He's so dope. And he was on the project with us. We formed like the group, and then Skinny Bones was on the production. And then we loved doing the album so much that we decided to do another one. And this time, like, we did another play with the words, and we included Skinny Bones' name in the iLLViLLE, and we called it Skillversibles. So it's like Skinny Bones, Ill Temper, Versatilla, and Gamblez, Skillversibles. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's actually just a dope name. But
Fire.
So, you know, shout out Ill Temper, shout out everybody that I worked with on those projects. Like, those were really, really dope and fun to do. Just quick EPs, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, shout out Ill Temper. Like, and he works like I do. Like, he'll get shit. Like, I'll send him 4 beats, and like within the next like 2 or 3 days, every single one of them is laced. And he's got a hook for this one, and you know what I'm saying? Like, he works fast, and you know, just like I said, just the ill dude. He's a family man too. Like, he loves his kid. You know what I'm saying? It's just like he's a good dude. I fuck with Ill Temper a lot. Shout out Ronnie, my man Ronnie.
Yeah, man. Shout out to
You know what I'm saying?
Ronnie. Nah, yo, he did a crazy fucking hook on that Gloomy Sailor album. Crazy verse too.
Yes,
but
he did.
I really love that the hook that he did on that one. And so once again, man, yeah, shout out to Ill Temper. He's one of them cats on my timeline, always dropping something. And cats like him keep me inspired, similar to yourself. You know what I mean? Always something coming out. So let's we're approaching like the fourth quarter, final quarter of the interview here. We've given all the flowers to Grind Mode. We've given the flowers to God Division. We've given the flowers to Gloomy Sailor. Now it's time. It's time to talk about Gamblez, your solo music, what you got coming up, whatever you're willing to share with the people, because I think I know more than the public as far as what you're cooking up. So when it comes to solo music coming from Gamblez this year, what are you willing to disclose to the people?
Okay, I got we're definitely gonna drop that BBZ Darnie.
Let's get
project.
it. All right. Yep.
So I got an EP. I've been working on with this producer named BBZ Darnie. Dope ass, throwback on some like Lord Finesse type of 94 type of vibes, these beats. Really, really dope producer. And I was introduced to him through he did a project with Purpose from Tragic Allies. And I've always fucked with the Allies and shit. Shout out ST Knack, Purpose, and Code 9. But he did a project with Purpose, and I fucked with his beats on there. And I just reached out to him one day on some like, you know, what would you charge me for a beat type of shit? And he was like, yo, you're dope. I ain't gonna charge you shit. And I was like, oh, fuck. You know what I'm saying? So, like, he sent me a gang of beats over the course of a few months. which obviously Gibby knows all about this shit because he's mixing and mastering this one.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Darnie. Shout out to Darnie. And just like you said, the album sound like 1994. I couldn't have even
It's
picked a better
crazy.
year.
Yup. So I gotta be honest, man. Like, I'm hoping to have this shit out like in the fall. You know what I'm saying? Late summer, early fall. That's definitely dropping. That's just gonna be fucking fire. Right now, I'm also working on and almost finished with an album I'm doing with Errol Flynn, aka Evil, now known as
Yeah.
also known as Evil, because he has some fuckery with his name. He had to change his name on there
Shit, I never knew
legally.
that.
Yeah, bro. Errol Flynn is his real name, and he went by Errol Flynn, aka Evil. And there was some shit that happened, and he ended up having to change his name legally and copyrighted and shit like that. So he changed his name. Anyway, we have a dope project coming out called Evil Bastards, and that shit is fucking. That's probably my favorite album that I've worked on in a long time. Just it runs the spectrum of what you want to hear in an album. It's got heavy hitting bangers. It's got really introspective tracks, smooth, soulful beats. We got joints from DC the Midi Alien. We've got fucking Drew Dollars on some scratches on this shit. We've got we got beats from Stu Bangers on this shit.
Ooh.
Johnny Slash. We got some really, really, really dope tracks on there. So we're finishing that up. That's going to be a really dope project. And then
Yeah, man.
also,
Shout out to Evil. Shout out to Evil.
Evil, to me, Evil is that dude that, like, every time if he started a track off and he sent me the verse, I knew I had to be on my A game. And I'm like, yo, I'm not blowing this verse out in fucking 3 minutes. Like, I'm going to spend at least a half a day sitting here perfecting this verse and making it dope, because he'll write a verse on his 5-minute break at work that'll blow your fucking socks off and make you rewrite your shit. He's just that way, and that's how he is, and I love that. So he helped me, like, he inadvertently upped my game. You know what I'm saying? And my lyrical ability and shit like that. And by no means am I like fucking Talib Kweli or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm more like, I'm a hard-hitting rapper, you know what I'm saying? But Evil definitely brought the lyrics out of me and shit. He's dope. His punchlines are fucking hurt your feelings type of shit.
Yeah, dog. Yeah.
He's nasty. So that is on the way. And then I'm working on an EP with Details the Prophet and my man High Q on the beats. And he's dropping a couple verses on there. That shit is sick. That's
Yo,
just
shout
gonna
out
be
to
fire.
Details. Shout out to
Yep, shout out
Details,
to
man.
Details. God Division, bro.
Yo, that's my third base brother right there. We got a group called Fourth Base. That's what, you know what I
Dope.
mean?
I can see that. Details, that's my man, bro. Another one, very humble dude. Battle rap, anybody. Like, that dude is just a fucking monster. His wordplay is out of this world. Details is my
Sick.
brother, you know what I'm saying? So, that's coming. And also, in the very near future, gonna be starting to work on an album with my brother Hectic. We had a group called the Empire. We have a group called Empire. It has had different members and shit along the way, but it's always been me and Hectic at the core of it. And Dr. G is our main producer. Now, whether or not we're gonna link up with Dr. G for the bulk of the production for our next project, we don't know yet. We all got different things going on and shit like that, so just the timing might not be right. But me and Heck are definitely hungry to start working together again and drop an Empire album. So that's in the
Nice.
works. And then another one too is that we have a group project between God Division and Two Face Media called Godface. And that shit is pretty much a wrap. It's just a matter of logistics and getting all the tracks that we want to push first and getting a video together type of shit and, stuff like that. So that was an experience too. Shout out to Face Media, like I said. Pestilence, that's my fucking brother. Space Case, Jester Exodus, that's my fucking brother. Mars One, Lobotomized, that whole fam. So, we got a lot of shit. And then I got 2 EPs that you're going to be very hands-on with, produced by a couple of dudes that might not be getting along right now, but they're 2 of my favorite producers ever, Johnny Slash and Stu Bangers, and I'm definitely not afraid to drop their names and shit like that. And working on EPs with each one of them independently. Both of them extremely fucking talented producers, obviously. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Shout
Oh,
out Stu
yeah.
Bangers. Stu Bangers is an ill dude, too. And I'm very excited to finish these projects up. Obviously, when I say those 2 names, some people might know what's going on. We ain't even going to get into that. But the first thing you're going to understand is that hard-hitting, hard-knocking, grimy fucking beats. And that's what that's right up my alley. You know what I'm saying? So like it's almost like these beats are custom made for Gamblez and the 1,000 Pound Flow. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, man.
and both just short. I gotta go crazy on these albums. Like Johnny Slash, I think is like 7, 8 tracks. Stu Bang is gonna be like 10 tracks. And yeah, there's gonna be some fucking hard hitting bangers on these albums. So, you know, like I said,
Yeah, man.
2025, 2026 is we definitely going there, God Division. And I got an EP I'm working on with fucking Akua too. So,
It don't
yeah,
stop. It don't
it
stop,
don't
people.
stop. It don't stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's actually
There's other
shit floating
projects.
around that I've kind of even just forgot to even mention because there's so much going on. You know what I mean? Like, and I think like too, like I'm focusing on just dropping singles and just dropping songs and shit like that and keeping the buzz up, which is no problem for me. So, you know what I mean? Like a lot of shit going on. You know what I mean? A lot of shit going on. Big things. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, man. Just a quick recap on everything he just said, man. They got they got an Evil Bastards project coming with himself, Errol Flynn, right? AKA
yep.
Evil.
AKA Evil.
He got an EP with Johnny Slash on the beats. He got an EP with Stu Bangers on the beats. Those are solo projects right there.
Yep.
He is working for the revival of the group with Hectic. What was the group called again? I apologize. Empire. So you can expect that at some point in time too. And then the project with Details and High Q.
That shit's gonna be fucking fire, bro. That shit's gonna be fucking fire. That's on another level. That's some next level shit.
Yeah, man. He got a list of projects. What I can say, I've heard some joints from the Stu Bangers project, and man, super excited about that one. I think just like you said, man, his beats, just like the Johnny Slash ones, they complement your style, your flow, your voice so perfectly. I think I've heard one joint off the Johnny Slash EP too, but I've heard a couple from the Stu Bangers, man. And I just want to say, like, again, I producer beef is real. It does exist out here in these streets, but that ain't gonna stop us from giving
Ain't
props.
got nothing to do with that shit,
Ain't got
y'all.
nothing to do with us.
Ain't got nothing to do with that shit, y'all.
So we gonna give props where props are due, and I think both of those dudes are some of the best producers in the underground, in my opinion. They're two dudes who I follow, and I look at their shit. You know what I mean? Like I look up to them to a degree. You know what I mean? Especially Stu Bangers with everything that he's done.
Legend.
Yeah, man. So looking forward to those projects right there. I'm looking forward to everything that you just mentioned. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up right here. We got a solid episode in. I just want to say, first and foremost, yo, thank you for being a guest on the first season of iLLViLLE Radio. It's important to point out this is the first season. You're a pioneer. You know what I mean? Before we get up out of here, is there anything else you want to let the people know? Any special shout outs, like anything?
Just shout out my whole camp, you know what I'm saying? Shout out you, Gibby. Obviously, you know what I'm saying? That's God Division fam right there. He's an honorary member. He knows it. You know what I'm saying? That's my brother right there. There's no music I'm putting out that Gibby don't have his hands on from now on, and that's the truth. But shout out my whole camp. Akua the God, Hectic the Latin Assassin, also known as Evil, Details the Prophet, Herb, Pike, dope fucking producer out of Denver, Gloomy Sailor. Shout out the whole fucking clique, man. Everybody, the whole extended fam, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Shout out all y'all for tuning in. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I look forward to many more interviews in the future. You know, not necessarily including myself, but I can't wait to see this grow into a dope platform for you, my brother. You know what I'm saying? So this shit's gonna be fucking fire.
My man, yo, I appreciate that. Let the people know where they can find you online, what social medias you're on.
Yup, you can find me on Facebook, Gams the Lucky Bastard, GAMZTHA. You can find me on Spotify, Gamblez the Lucky Bastard. I actually got 2 pages there, so make sure you hit that Lucky Bastard. The Lucky Bastard is key when you go on my Spotify because that helps me. Don't fuck my old page, you know what I'm saying? I don't use that anymore.
And that's the Lucky Bastard,
Instagram,
THA.
Gamblez the Lucky Bastard on Instagram, you know what I'm saying? And you can go to goddivision.com and find a bunch of dope interviews and profiles and shit like that. And pretty soon all our music will be locked in through that channel and shit. And we also have God Division on YouTube, and you can see all our videos. We got crazy videos on there, hella videos. So stay tuned, y'all. You know what I'm saying? God Division, we a thing. We here, we a movement, and we gonna keep on fucking bulldozing through this shit, man.
Yeah, man. They had everything he just said, all right? God Division on the rise, God Division, Grind Mode, iLLViLLE. We all working in conjunction with each other to bring this fucking super dope media to the underground. And I say
Yup.
media because it ain't just about the music, man. We got dudes doing videos. We got homies making beats. We got every motherfucking
Doing
thing.
everything.
So once again, man, shout out to Gamblez, the lucky bastard sitting here with me. Good friend of mine. We got so many things that we're working on. This has been another installment of iLLViLLE Radio. Make sure you are subscribed to us on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, pretty much everywhere that you can find podcasts. And that's that, man. We up out of here. Peace.
One.